You guys, it's Jax. Welcome back. You're in for a special treat today. Today and perhaps tomorrow and perhaps the day after that. In fact, perhaps for the next 6 days. It's gonna kind of depend how things go and just how much wizardry is in that brain right there. See that brain? I'll explain in a minute. So, you guys remember this red Kenworth? You saw it probably last time you saw it on YouTube was hauling straw bales last summer. Quick recap for those of you that are new, for those of you that haven't taken the opportunity to completely veg out and binge watch my entire channel since you showed up. This truck, I've had it for a few years. Kind of bought it with unknown engine history. Things that I've done to it since we brought it home from Kentucky. We put new rear ends in it just because I want them updated. I wanted to know what they were, and I didn't like the old ratio. It was too fast. The truck was way too fast. I know it's like breaking the laws of the cattle haulers, but it was just too fast, okay? You know me, I'm more into fuel mileage than speed. So I put 355 rear ends in it, so it would have a little slower roll. Then we put a 13-speed transmission in it so that it would just do a little better on the hills and help with the fuel mileage. And, I took it out trucking last fall, and where was I at? I was in South Dakota, and I go to check my oil, and I'm like an inch over the top, mark of the dipstick. Not good. What was going on is, well, we're gonna find out here in a minute, but there's fuel getting into the oil. Not good. I had also replaced the injectors prior to that, and I think something to do with an injector O-ring perhaps, or a fuel line, something in there. We're gonna take a look at. But anyway, in South Dakota is where it all happened. So I went ahead and dumped my cows off. I limped it home, parked it here last fall, and I've left it outside on the curb, trying to decide what exactly I wanted to do. This is where I enter and tell you about my secret desire. And I know this also is kind of backwards for truckers, but my secret desire has always been to overhaul an engine. Ironically enough, out of the 15 semis that I've owned, I've only had to overhaul one, and it was under warranty, so the dealership overhauled it. Caterpillar, it was a Cat engine that had some failures under warranty from an overhaul. But I've always actually myself personally wanted to be able to dig in and learn. These are my top 3 professions, and you're gonna die when you hear this. And James, don't laugh. You guys are gonna meet James in a minute. My top 3 choices prior to landing where I did, I was gonna be an orthodontist, or I was going to be a diesel mechanic, or I was going to be a hairstylist. Could you imagine me in there cutting hair, doing the deal? Maybe you can, now that you guys know my hair care routine on the road. So anyway, those were my 3 things that I was gonna do. I never ended up doing any of them, obviously, but I do a lot of maintenance. I've learned a lot about how to maintain my stuff. But getting inside of an engine is, that's kind of some murky waters for me. It's not murky waters for him, but it is for me. So I decided to overhaul this engine just so that now this truck, it'll have a fresh engine. It literally will be fresh from the charge air cooler on the front to the radiator, to the engine, to the tranny, to the rear ends, all the way through and through. I'll finally have history. I hate not having history on my trucks. I hate not knowing, well,
it might have 1,000,000 miles on it, it might have none.
This engine had no history. It did have a lot of blow-by, which means there's a lot of exhaust vapors escaping the piston chambers and getting into the crankcase, and usually a sign that the engine's getting kind of tired. So we decided to go ahead and overhaul it, and that's what you are going to get to watch now. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to this guy. All right, so I joined Instagram. I think it's almost impossible to scroll back to my very earliest posts, because Instagram's it's so hard to scroll back, right? You scroll back and you're like, I don't even know. But I did once, and I think that my first post was in the fall of 2014. Instagram's a little different today than it was back in the day, right? Mm-hmm. And nowadays, it's just really, you're just flipping through. There's hardly any staying power in Instagram. But back in those days, there were it was the Wild West days, and you could find cool content that you liked. It was this is life stuff. This is things I'm interested in, not just a trendy song with a short video attached to it. Or, this was before TikTok kind of ruined the social media landscape. And you could get on and see videos of guys doing really cool stuff. And there's this guy, see your shirt? There's this guy named James Cox. Also, you'll hear, of course, you guys know me with nicknames. I'm probably just gonna go ahead and call him Jimbo Hannon or Jimmy Crack. But I'll explain more of those later as we go throughout this series. James is from, James, at the time you were in, where were you at? You were in Maryland.
Maryland.
So he's in Maryland. Let's see if I can get all this in. He's in Maryland, and he's a cat mechanic. He's working at Caterpillar. And I'm like, he's posting stuff, and you're seeing things he's doing. And me being a wannabe mechanic, I was like, I'm gonna follow this guy. So I started following him clear back in the day, all those years ago. And we became friends over the years. And we always talked about getting together, meeting up someday, not knowing how or when that may or may not happen. But circumstances allowed after 7 or 8 years. Finally, right?
Yep.
Finally for him to come out, and he always said, he goes, oh, you get me out to Montana, we'll do some stuff. And so I hit him up here a few months ago, and said, you want to come out and overhaul an engine? And guess what he said?
Or, go ahead.
He's like, I'm like totally down. Not even like tentative. He's like 1,000% yes, I'm on my way. And here he is. So your background a little bit. Oh, sorry, I gotta. Oh, guys. Oh, I just ate breakfast, and with my breakfast, I ate that was a full-on mustache hair. So you we'll give him a brief rundown. You were Marine.
Marine, worked on Detroit diesels there.
The 2-strokes?
2 strokes.
Wait a minute, I didn't realize this. Hold on.
I try not to tell anybody that.
So you guys just learned something new that he tries to keep a secret. He worked, this was back in 2000?
2004.
When everything Detroit to do with the military was 100% 2-stroke. The Screamin Detroit. We're gonna call you Screamin Jimmy. That's gonna totally be your new name, Screamin Jimmy. So you worked on the Jimmies. That was a nickname for the old Detroits because GM made those.
We got a job at International.
Okay.
Worked on school buses. Learned about chassis, brakes, transmission, clutches at the International dealership that shut down shortly after I worked there.
Okay.
Then I worked with Cat for 11 years.
You know what his nickname is? Actually, his Instagram. What is your Instagram handle?
It's a Catman Cox 82.
Catman Cox. So he left the world of Detroit, learned a little bit about trucks, and landed himself a job in the cat shop, where he soon became known as Catman Cox.
Pretty much.
Which you literally have become a wizard in cats.
Yeah.
Like anything, and that's where I found him, because I had that. You know, I had these old cat motors, and I just wanted to learn more about it. So I started following you, and here you are now.
Right.
Overhauling a Detroit. He's like having these like back in the sand, working on a Detroit. So you guys, that's kind of the background. Really thankful for James, in all seriousness. We'll probably talk a little bit more about our relationship as we go along. But I just want to let you know at the beginning of this that he's become like a real friend. He's not someone that you just, comment on a post here and there, but we've become close personal friends over the years. And, the one good thing that's come from online dating is that it's totally normal to meet people online now and then meet them in person someday. It's not as sketchy and weird. We made sure we met at a safe place yesterday, where should either of us feel uncomfortable, we could phone a friend. But they flew in, and we grabbed them at the airport, and here they are. So, and James brought along his fine friend Sarah, who we're happy to have along.
Hello.
And so with that, let's get to it. We'll try to kind of stop throughout, explain what we're doing, the upcoming steps, where we're at, why we're doing what we're doing. We got Weed Man Weeds over here, always ready to learn and grow. And right, Fred? Yeah. He's got to leave for football practice this afternoon, but let's get to it. The other one. This is how you sneak out a little diesel. Instead of going out to the big tank, just take it from your tank. Just don't do this in the truck stop from somebody else's tank. So we're putting dye down in this fuel filter. That's fuel dye. Because this thing was leaking, it's leaking diesel somewhere in the top end down into the crankcase. So what the plan is, see how this dye works? You put that in, we'll fire the truck up, it'll run through the system. And wherever that fuel's leaking out in here, we have a UV light. And that, James is laughing. We have a UV light that should make this really light up and be able to tell what the cause of that leak is, so we can make sure we address that properly. Another thing we're looking at here is just a little bit of, there's a little wear there.
All the farmers see them all the time.
Right.
Just put waste oil in them.
Yep. You want the jakes off?
Yeah, I don't want them going off.
To see in there better?
Oh no,
I mean,
we can't take them off. Because I honestly don't know where I can plug them. But they hold down the rock arm.
Oh, gotcha.
And a Caterpillar I can take them, like an old mechanical one, I can take them off. But you gotta put hoses on the bolt where the oil supply is up to it. Because it has its own oil supply that's different from everyone else. So if you start it up without the jakes on, it goes to the ceiling and everywhere. That's happened to me.
I did that with that in 14. I wanted to just crank it to see what that injector would do or something. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, but the cab was half over. So
Yeah.
and all over me. I can't believe how much oil they push out.
Oh, real quick.
That quick.
Right? Yeah. 40 to 50 psi. Instant.
Allow me a second. James is gonna do his nail now. And to help him, we have this UV light. So you need a UV light to run to check this fuel. Oh yeah. And all we have for a UV light is a nail curing machine.
Well, we'll find out. I'll catch it.
Sucking the juice. Just see if it engages the... It might just be dead enough, maybe, huh? Should have come over early and put that on. I overlooked that.
Yeah.
Put it straight over. Good bolt here, too.
Start thinking about one of the ones that come in this truck.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen weird.
Should be alright.
Should be. I'm here.
Come on. You saw what that was in that last clip. That was the fluorescent that you saw running through the oil. That was the fuel dye from here. And it ran that quick into the, well, out of the injector and into the head, that's why it was diluting the oil so fast. I mean, it was a major leak. You guys, when I was bringing it home from South Dakota, it was like, I would stop it was probably 150, 200 miles. And I would I'd open my oil drain on my oil pan, drain out about a gallon of oil diesel. And then I'd get a 1 gallon jug of the thick, like buttery Lucas. And I would pour it in to replace the gallon I dumped out because that stuff's real thick. And that's how we made it home. But that was a cool shot. Weeder?
Yes.
What are you doing?
Cleaning up your mess from.
Sorry. We made, when we had the valve cover off, we made a pretty sizable mess on the engine. So Friedman Weedman, which you guys all love, he's such a good worker boy.
Oh yeah.
He's just getting her cleaned off. So yeah. What did you think on that fuel leak? What do you?
What I think what it is.
I know it's hard to tell exactly, but what do you think it might be?
O-ring, top O-ring's leaking.
Yeah.
Surprised it's not spraying up and out.
It'll actually squirt up out of there.
Oh yeah.
So high
Sometimes I've gone look at the engine and have to jump off because I'm not covered in diesel fuel. It's all right. I didn't need to die.
This was number 4. The leaky culprit. We're just looking for a damage, which I don't even know if you'll be able to even see it or not. So this is not me. This is 100% Jimbo Hannon. He's just ripping. He told me we'd have this. He's like, we'll have this thing tore down tonight. And I'm like, He's like, oh, no problem. It's not even noon yet. And anyway, he's holding true. But so check out, this is the injector. Let me show you. We really inspected the O-rings and they just don't have any obvious damage. Which leads you to think it could just be a faulty injector. Now, just as a reminder, these injectors are all new. I put them in, they probably have 10,000 miles on them or less. Only a couple trips of cows and some loads of straw on these until this one started leaking. So, talked to the old mechanic who's now retired, and he's gonna look back and see where we got these. I bet this has still got warranty on it. So, this injector is gonna go. And we got a new set of O-rings coming for the rest. And it'll be lickety-split, bing, bang, boom. Jimbo Dean is giving me the eye. I think he's ready for me to finally start doing some work and a little less recording. No, he's totally chill. He's like, no, you record. I'm going to take the turbo off. Okay, here's the day one midday breakdown. Just to recap. Okay, Jake brakes. Rockers, injectors. We got the pretty much got everything apart here. You got to take the exhaust manifold off after lunch, and then we're working on getting the cam freed up. So a couple more little things to undo here, and we'll pull the head off, and that'll give us an idea of the liners. Now here's the thing about this truck too to keep in mind, because this is going to be the surprise for you. I have no idea what kind of shape these liners, these pistons are going to be in. This thing's supposed to have a lot of miles on it. They said the ECM said 700 and some thousand, but they couldn't verify. And you know how ECMs are, it could be from a different rig, you know, scrapyard stuff, so you never know what's what. But it had, I'm going to feel really dumb if we do this and it's like fresh, brand new pistons. But it can't be, because it had so much blow by that when you were fueling up out in the parking lot, it had enough blow by that it was like fogging the fuel island with exhaust out of the blow by tube. So that alone, I mean, Detroit's have blow by, but this was like the old man in the cigar, just puffing the pipe, doing whatever you prefer, vaping, you know, whatever. That's what this truck was doing. To where it was a little uncomfortable, like you're fueling and people are like, hey, you're like, I know. So anyway, that'll be the thing this afternoon. We'll see, and we'll take a look and decide. Okay, Jimbo, this is a true mechanics question for you.
Oh, here we go.
This is a bag of floor dry, you guys, and used for cleaning up spills. And I noticed when I was using it that it has directions. What's directions? There's directions for floor dry. So I want to ask, because Jimbo is a professional mechanic, I want to ask, if you had to write directions for floor dry, what would it be?
Spread evenly across the floor and scrub it in with your feet.
Ah, okay. So this one says, spread a thin layer of Service Pro across the floor on concrete driveways and allow it to remain in place till darkened. So, you guys learned something new today. Not only are you going to learn how to overhaul a Detroit, you also learned that the true trick to floor dry is spread it with your feet.
Scrub it in, work it in.
Scrub it in. Grind it to dust. What you got there? Little trick of the trade?
Oh yeah.
See that? You just put a little towel in there and it just grabs those things like a little grippy grabber. Right here it says use care when removing the camshaft thrust plate retaining bolts. That's what Jimbo was just doing. And to prevent their accidental dropping into the gear case. He's like way ahead. He never even read this book. He don't need it. He already knew that.
As a kid, and you always had an extra piece at the end.
What do we got going in here?
Trying to time it. Then pull the camshaft out and then let's yank the head. If we want, guys, drain the oil.
Yes, sir. Draining the oil. Take me just a second. Got it ready to fly. So I couldn't get the oil plug off with my wee little 10-inch. So Jimbo Mr. Bohannon himself presented me with a, I believe you call it a wrecker. Now I'll switch back. She's a little thin, Jimmy. There's no big chunks of metal on that would matter again.
I hope there's no big chunks. We have more issues there.
What? Just about.
Yeah, a little.
Just
a little bit.
That's how well I fit into the axle. Just enough to get my eyebrow under there.
Yeah. Darken it up.
Oil pan. Oil pan's off, but I got a big Allen head. Allens have huge heads, and mine is big as they come. All right, so we got the cam is out.
Hands out.
It's all square.
All the
We
head
got-
bolts are out.
Head bolts are out. Oil pan's off. Not that that matters for the next part.
Yeah.
So we're getting bolts to lift the head off. I'm gonna grab the skid steer, and we'll see how this thing wiggles off of here. So, and then we get to peek inside. Remember? Jimmy's laying another little trick on us here, you guys. We've got the oil pan dropped, you see, and oil pump is gonna go off into the pan. Saves a little mess.
Well, all those oil tubes in there
Uh-huh.
is filled with oil.
Yeah, so they're gonna,
When you pull it on, you have a oil
Who'd have thought that the oil corridors are full of, pipes are full of oil. Right on. Boy, I bet you guys see how clean all this stuff is in here. Everything's just clean as a whistle. That's not supposed to be like that. That is the effect of rinsing your entire engine off for 600 miles with diesel fuel. So when you do that, it kind of cleans things up.
Yeah. Yeah, can you find me a 15?
15 and a half?
drive. Especially with you running very thin. Spun bearing, I'm going home. Yeah, look a visit for a while somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's above and beyond the big Call of Duty. Yeah.
Yeah, crate engine.
Will you at least help me pull it out of here?
Yeah.
I'll park it in front of the shop for another year. Yep. Yeah, that was pretty much me. They called the fire department one time. Someone thought I was on fire. I was like, oh no, it's just my blow by, boys.
Yeah, you ran it like that.
There. There's drips coming down. And it'll just thread up into a little hole and give it a little squirt.
That's crazy. I don't even like jigsaw puzzles.
You don't?
Oh no.
Why?
They're hard.
I agree. Look at that. Got oil on the lens.
Probably not like a jigsaw puzzle because actually.
James, you got a little something on your face.
Do I?
Yeah, just
Right around here?
just a little though. Just a little.
What if I'm not doing?
That's where you needed to go way up in there. Piston cooling jets. So the whole reason I wanted diesel in here was because I pretty much just cleaned out my injector oil cooling, piston cooling injector nozzles. That's not a thing, by the way, but Just like that. Spinner.
It's gonna go really fast now because there's only 2 pistons in it. Just one in it.
It's gonna go fast.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's that. Find the hole. It's nice that it's just a square. And that whole thing is straight ahead. Getting it?
No. There.
Keep going. A little bit more. Right there. Mm-hmm. Oh, you felt that happen. You're good.
Work.
That would feel way too bad. That could be mean.
All right, guys, I got to show you something that we discovered. It's pretty darn cool. I think it's cool. When you have an engine with no history, typically the things that you find are not good things. And, oh man, I'm dirty. Not as dirty as old Jimbo over there. But one of the cool things, you usually find unpleasant stuff. Like, oh, look at this, look at that. This is one little light. I think it's cool because it signifies the true use of this engine. Check this out. See that Detroit logo? There's the part number. Check this out. There's the date stamp on the liner. December 99. That was a lot of years ago. What is so cool about that is that, let me find the cover over here. It's upside down for you guys, sorry. But the manufacturing date on this engine, December 99. That means that this is a virgin motor. It's never been overhauled. We still don't know how many miles are on it. Plenty. But it's never been overhauled. You know, a lot of engines, you overhaul them 2-3 times. Not this one. It's fresh. So we're getting a stab into it here for the first time. You probably don't see that a whole often, do you, Jim?
Not usually. Somebody took care of it.
Yep. All right, you guys, that's the end of day one. We had it tore down by 5 o'clock. Old Jimbo Hannon. In fact, he went home a little earlier because I wanted him to use the hot water so it could replenish before I got back because we're dirty. Freddie made her back from football practice, and here we are. So we got it all tore down, which means the head is off. You know, Jake brakes are out, obviously. Injectors are out. I think I mentioned earlier that one injector really couldn't. When I cleaned the injectors, that's what I was just finishing up with, was cleaning parts. And when I finished cleaning those injectors up, I looked again all over that thing, and I just could not see where the any of the O-rings had any damage. And it's just pouring fuel out of that. You know, it's hard to tell exactly where it's coming out of that injector the way we did it. But so we're gonna pick up a new injector tomorrow. A few other parts got to get picked up. One of the things that was a little disconcerting, and again, I guess this is shame on me, but I paid $2,800 for new rocker arms, you know, all new. And, you know, I picked up the overhaul kit. They put it together, they inventory it, they do the deal. We're checking everything out tonight, and no rocker arm assemblies. You know, no, it's the full on. They were $2,800, so it's the full rocker arms, all, you know, new and nice, and they're not there. So I got to call in the morning and see what's going on with that. I hope they're sitting there in Billings in a box and they just forgot to send them to me. If not, they're gonna have to overnight them, and it ain't gonna be on my dime, I'll tell you that, because I will fight tooth and nail. Overnight freight on a set of rocker arms for the whole engine is not gonna be very nice. And where we live so far away, like, that's a big screw up. So, and yes, I should have, this kit has been sitting in my shop, you know, for 6 weeks, and I didn't inventory it because that's what you paid for. You paid for these parts. I guess it's just another lesson, and a lot of you that are mechanics and deal with that are already nodding and going, yeah, you got to double check everything, because that's just how it goes. But whoever put that kit together just didn't put it together. So yeah, that'll be tomorrow. But so that's out. We got the pistons pulled out. We got the liners pulled out. And so tomorrow we'll just be doing a little prep work in the morning, tracking down a few stray parts, hopefully getting some good news on those rocker arms. Hopefully they're in Billings and we can just grab them and they're there. And then it'll be time to start dropping, you know, putting the new pistons together and starting to set some stuff up. I don't know, because I don't know, I'm not a mechanic, but I have this strange feeling that we may have this beast running by Saturday morning or Friday night. You never know. Anyway, it's been very educational, been awesome to get to watch and see how this all comes apart. The magic, to me, engines are just magic. You guys that work on engines, it's just magic, or you gals. And so to me, seeing it, how it's all done and how it all works, was very fun. And I can see how if you got to get in the mode of doing that every day, you know, I can see how it all becomes understandable. Something that's so what's the word for that? Ununderstandable? That's not the word. But anyway, the magic is being revealed. It's like a magician teaching you a trick, and I love it. So it's time to go in, clean up, have some dinner, and see what kind of treasures await us tomorrow.